In the trade war, Canada and China fired the latest shots today. The province of Ontario put a 25% surcharge on electricity sales to Michigan, Minnesota.
Are you serious when you say that you would shut off the supply of electricity? I think one report quoted you as saying with a smile on your face.
Well, that's
in a significant, immediate, and utterly unprecedented act of economic retaliation, the Ontario government, under the leadership of Premier Doug Ford, has unilaterally and with swift determination imposed a substantial 25% surcharge on all electricity exports to the United States. Welcome viewers to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update. This bold and decisive measure was enacted without any prior warning or legislative delay and represents the initial and most prominent wave of a carefully calibrated and comprehensive strategic plan designed to forcefully counter the recent imposition of U.S. tariffs on a wide range of Canadian goods. This aggressive surcharge has an immediate and palpable financial impact on an estimated 1.5 million homes and businesses across three vital U.S. states: Michigan, Minnesota, and New York. These states, situated in the industrial heartland and key population centers of the U.S., have long been heavily reliant on a stable, consistent, and affordable supply of hydroelectric and other forms of power from their northern neighbor. This newly introduced financial burden is projected to cost American consumers a staggering sum, with expert economic models indicating a daily expenditure of up to $400,000 every single day for as long as the surcharge remains in place. This move signifies a clear and unwavering commitment from the Ontario government to use its economic leverage to protect its own interests and to push back forcefully against what it perceives as an unjust and economically damaging trade policy. It is a new and unconventional form of economic warfare, with Ontario leveraging a critical resource to achieve its diplomatic ends. Premier Doug Ford was remarkably forthright and unapologetic in explaining the rationale for this drastic action. He did not mince words, emphatically labeling the U.S. tariffs a disaster for the U.S. economy, and stressing that these policies are directly responsible for making life more expensive for American families and businesses. Ford's stance on the matter is nothing short of resolute, and he has repeatedly stated that Ontario will not retreat or compromise its position until the threat of these tariffs is completely and permanently eliminated. In a direct and very public challenge to the U.S. administration, he has publicly promised to use every tool in our toolkit to protect Ontario's economic prosperity, showcasing a firm and unwavering commitment to defending the province against what he considers an unjust and harmful trade policy. This bold and proactive action sends an unmistakable signal to both allies and adversaries that Ontario is prepared to take substantial, significant, and potentially painful steps to safeguard its economy and its citizens from what it views as a misguided and aggressive trade war. The mechanics of the surcharge and strategic financial reallocation. The new market regulations, now fully in force, mandate that any electricity generator or company selling power to the U.S. must incorporate a strict 25% surcharge, which is precisely calculated at an additional $10 per megawatt-hour (MWH). This calculated pricing strategy is expected to generate a consistent and significant daily revenue stream of anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000. These funds are not merely a punitive measure intended to cause financial harm to American consumers, although that is an undeniable secondary effect. They are specifically designated to create a dedicated support fund. This money will be used to provide direct aid and relief to Ontario's workers, families, and businesses who may suffer from the collateral effects of the ongoing trade dispute. This innovative, dual-pronged approach, which combines aggressive economic retaliation with robust domestic support, underscores a meticulously well-thought-out plan designed to minimize the negative impacts of the U.S. tariffs on the provincial populace while simultaneously applying maximum pressure on the United States. This careful balance between aggressive external action and compassionate internal support is at the core of the government's strategy, demonstrating a focus on both offense and defense in this economic conflict. Ontario's government has made it abundantly and publicly clear that this is merely the beginning of its response. The administration is fully prepared to escalate its retaliatory actions on very short notice, demonstrating a willingness to turn the screws even tighter. The surcharge itself could be increased at any point, and in the most extreme and worst-case scenario, if the U.S. were to intensify its tariffs, Ontario is prepared to completely and abruptly cut off all electricity exports to the U.S. Minister of Energy Stephen Lecce highlighted the long-standing and mutually beneficial partnership between the two regions, stating, "For decades, Ontario has powered American homes, factories, offices and jobs." He expressed a strong conviction that this vital and long-standing relationship is being taken for granted and argued passionately that both nations should be working together to strengthen their trade ties, especially at a time when rising costs are impacting families and businesses on both sides of the border. This rhetoric demonstrates a clear effort to place the onus of de-escalation squarely on the U.S., while also preparing the public for the possibility of more severe measures if necessary, including a full-scale cutoff of a vital resource. A multifaceted retaliatory effort in motion across multiple economic sectors. This electricity surcharge is just one component of a broader, multifaceted retaliatory effort that extends far beyond provincial borders and into multiple economic sectors. The Government of Canada has already responded on a national scale by imposing an initial round of $30 billion in tariffs on U.S. goods. As Canada's most populous province and its largest economy, Ontario is independently wielding significant influence, effectively setting an example for other provinces to follow. The LCBO, Liquor Control Board of Ontario, which holds the distinction of being the world's largest single buyer of alcohol, has taken the drastic and attention-grabbing step of removing all U.S. products from its shelves. This measure alone could cost American producers a staggering $1 billion in lost revenue. Additionally, Ontario has implemented a strict ban on U.S. companies from bidding on government procurement contracts, a massive market valued at an estimated $30 billion annually. Premier Ford's actions also include the swift and public cancellation of a $100 million deal with Elon Musk's Starlink and a comprehensive ban on U.S. companies from participating in critical Ontario infrastructure projects. These actions demonstrate a concerted and unified effort to hit U.S. economic interests from multiple angles, applying maximum pressure to force a policy reversal and show that Canada, and Ontario in particular, has powerful cards to play. In a proactive and strategic diplomatic maneuver that showcases a desire to build alliances within the U.S., Premier Ford has been directly reaching out to key lawmakers and state officials in Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. His clear and stated objective is to mobilize these American officials to put pressure on the Trump administration to reverse its tariff policy. He is warning them directly and publicly that their constituents risk being left without power if the trade war continues to escalate and if Ontario is forced to enact more severe measures. He has also actively urged other Canadian premiers to follow Ontario's example and implement their own retaliatory measures to create a unified and formidable Canadian front. While the exact timeline for further actions remains somewhat fluid and subject to the course of the trade dispute, Ford has stated unequivocally that he will act if the U.S. tariffs persist. He is actively and urgently looking for ways to act immediately without the typical delays of new legislation. While he has indicated a willingness to consider a full electricity cutoff if the tariffs continue into April, the immediate implementation of the surcharge underscores the high level of urgency of his government's response to protect its workers and its broader economy. This aggressive and multi-pronged approach is an unconventional but firm way of showing that Ontario is not backing down and will protect its interests at all costs. This is not simply a reaction, it is a calculated strategy to bring the U.S. to the negotiating table on Canada's terms.